All right, folks, welcome back to the True Alien Podcast, your daily dose of the strange and the unexpected. We're going to be looking at aliens, abductions, UFOs, Bigfoot, all that good stuff that just kind of sits right on that line between, wait, what is that even possible? I'm Adrian Smith.
And I'm Julia Jones, joining you for our daily paranormal probe. You know, after today's story, I might need to add a few galactic strategy guides to my research notes. You won't believe where the aliens are scouting recruits these days.
No kidding. Julie, today we are diving headfirst into the story of a gaming prodigy. And his skills didn't just help him conquer the virtual world. They landed him a job offer from an alien civilization. Get ready for game over. Game on. Let's unravel this one together. Okay, Julia, let's set the stage. We're talking about a guy named Ryder. And this wasn't your average gamer. This guy was legendary. He just defeated Legacy of the Ancients. Now, this wasn't some casual mobile game you play on your phone. This was a massively multiplayer online game, MMO. And it was famous for its ridiculously difficult AI. People dedicated years of their lives trying to beat this thing. Ryder, he cracked the code. I mean, we're talking serious dedication, lightning-fast reflexes, the kind of focus that probably made his energy bill skyrocket. He was living and breathing that game.
Yeah.
It's incredible when you think about the types of cognitive abilities that these complex games can hone. We're talking about strategic thinking on multiple levels. You've got intricate resource management and this ability to adapt to some seriously challenging scenarios. It's almost like a super specialized form of mental training. Although I doubt Ryder ever thought interstellar military strategist would be on his LinkedIn profile.
Right, exactly. So picture this. The final boss goes down in a blaze of digital glory. And Ryder, he's probably feeling that rush of victory, maybe thinking about finally getting a decent night's sleep, when suddenly the screen does something totally unexpected. Instead of the usual victory fanfare, a message pops up. And doesn't exactly say GGWP. It says your strategic brilliance is unmatched. Our world requires your service. Prepare for ascension.
Ascension. That sounds less like congratulations and more like a summons. I can only imagine what must have been going through Ryder's head. Disbelief would be putting it mildly. I bet he thought it was an elaborate joke from the game developers. Or maybe even like a really weird way to tease a sequel.
You got it. His first thought was totally something like that, just a bizarre sequel hook. And then like perfect sitcom, timing the doorbell rings. He glances away from the monitor, and when he looks back, the screen is blank. But now swirling on his floor is this vortex. He described it as looking like something straight out of a low-budget sci-fi movie.
A swirling vortex just like that materializes on his living room floor. Okay, that definitely throws the sequel theory out the window. At that point, I think a healthy dose of cosmic bewilderment would be totally understandable. It's one thing to beat a digital bad guy. It's a whole other thing to have a potential interdimensional portal open up in your house.
Right. And Ryder, being a gamer, is probably used to glitches and unexpected in-game events.
Yeah.
But a portal in his actual living room, that's a whole new level of immersion. So naturally, in a moment of pure curiosity, or maybe just disbelief, he grabs a wadded up sock. The epitome of scientific rigor, right? And tosses it into the swirling void. And poof, gone, vanished without a trace.
The sock tests, for all the advanced tech we think aliens would have, a good old sock toss is a pretty relatable first response. It's a tangible way to test the unknown, even if the scientific community might raise an eyebrow or two about the methodology. But still, a disappearing sock is a pretty compelling piece of evidence that something truly out of the ordinary is happening.
Definitely. And before he can even process what just happened with the disappearing sock, he hears footsteps coming towards his room. The door swings open, and in walk two figures straight out of a Men in Black B movie. Tall, dark suits, sunglasses, indoors at night, the whole shebang. The taller one gives a curt nod and says, Ryder Evans. And Ryder, whose adrenaline is probably pumping like he's in a surprise boss battle, manages a shaky, eee! And that's when the other one smirks and delivers the line, congratulations, you just got drafted.
Drafted. I highly doubt they were talking about his local basketball league. This sounds more like an interstellar recruitment drive. Some pretty serious consequences if you say no. I mean, the image of these stereotypical Men in Black guys serving up alien conscription notices is kind of funny in a dark way, but I bet it was super unsettling for poor Ryder.
Totally. And that's when the truth, as bizarre as it is, comes out. These weren't government agents. They were Adolans. And it turns out they're an advanced alien race locked in a desperate war with these insectoid beings called the XCR. Right. And Legacy of the Ancients, the game Ryder just conquered. It wasn't just entertainment. It was a meticulously crafted, hyper-realistic simulation. A cleverly disguised recruitment tool designed to find individuals with exceptional strategic minds across the galaxy.
It's amazing just the sheer level of ingenuity and how much they understand human psychology. Instead of going for the classic abduction scenario or trying to figure out someone's skills through normal means, they designed this incredibly complex game. It really says something about how good they are at identifying and valuing specific cognitive abilities, abilities that could be super important in a real-world conflict. It makes you wonder what it was about Ryder's gameplay that made them think he was special. Was
Yeah.
it his ability to adapt how he managed his resources, or maybe how well he predicted what his opponents would do?
It's brilliant in a kind of terrifying way, isn't it?
Mhm.
So Ryder, thinking he was just going to get some bragging rights and maybe a new gaming chair, suddenly finds himself transported light years away to this sleek command center filled with holographic displays instead of highest scoreboards. And it's there he meets General Zara, who sounds like she runs a really tight ship, no time for noob mistakes. Her first words to him were something like, "Okay, strategist, show me how to win this thing. No time for introductions or pleasantries."
Let's talk about trial by fire. One minute you're ordering takeout and figuring out the best gear for your character. The next you're being asked to save an entire planet from an alien invasion. Just the culture shock alone must have been immense. Trading his gamer lifestyle for actual galactic warfare, the disbelief must have been overwhelming. It really makes you think about how the skills we learned for fun could have some pretty unexpected applications.
You can imagine. He probably thought he was trading energy drinks and all-nighters for virtual loot, not the survival of an entire civilization. Now, the Adelans were apparently brave and super disciplined, but their military tactics, Ryder said they were predictable as heck. Their go-to strategy was basically just charging straight at the enemy, which unsurprisingly was getting them wiped out by the XCR's plasma weapons. It really shows that even the most advanced civilizations can have limitations if they get stuck in their ways.
It really highlights how valuable a fresh perspective can be, doesn't it? Sometimes someone from the outside, someone who isn't bound by years of tradition and set ways of doing things, can see solutions that people who are deeply entrenched in the system might miss. Ryder, coming from the world of gaming where things are constantly changing and often don't make logical sense, probably saw their strategies as too straightforward and therefore easy to counter. He probably brought a level of creative thinking that their traditional military structure just didn't have.
Exactly. Ryder, probably in his most exasperated gamer voice, finally tells General Zara to ditch the honorable charges and start thinking like they're raiding a dungeon. Hit their supply lines, use guerrilla tactics, set up ambushes, mislead them. Basically play smart and dirty, not just brave. Think outside the box, exploit weaknesses, the kind of stuff that wins you matches, even if it doesn't exactly make you a hero.
Think like you're raiding a dungeon. That's such a good way to put it. It really captures the idea of using your smarts, exploiting your enemy's weak points, and taking an unconventional approach. I can just imagine the looks on the faces of these seasoned Adelan commanders as they tried to understand these very unmilitary suggestions. It's almost like a clash of strategic cultures.
Oh, I'm sure there were a lot of confused alien glances going around. They were used to carefully planned formations and textbook maneuvers, not some sleep-deprived human telling them to build oversized trebuchets. Apparently, siege weapons were totally OP in-game, so why not try them out in real life against a technologically advanced alien army? The logic, although a little unconventional, is definitely memorable.
The trebuchets. It's such a ridiculous and yet somehow effective detail. It perfectly shows the difference between traditional military thinking and Ryder's game-influenced strategies. I can just picture these super advanced aliens scratching their heads trying to figure out how launching giant projectiles with what's basically medieval technology could give them an edge. It just goes to show that sometimes the most unexpected approach can really throw your opponent off balance.
And guess what? It started working. Slowly but surely, these small, unconventional victories started piling up. Ryder's gamer instincts, his ability to think ahead, to predict enemy movements, and to exploit their predictable patterns, were actually proving incredibly useful in real life, real galaxy warfare.
Yeah.
It just shows how adaptable those skills we hone in virtual environments can be.
What's so interesting here is that even though the context is completely different, a virtual battlefield versus an actual interstellar war, the basic principles of strategy, resource management, risk assessment, and understanding how your opponent thinks all carried over. It suggests that the human brain, when it's pushed in complex situations, develops skills that are incredibly versatile.
Right, the XCR, who are apparently very set in their ways and predictable in their own strategic thinking, were totally thrown for a loop by the Adelans' new unpredictable behavior. They just couldn't adapt to these unconventional tactics. And meanwhile, Ryder, fueled by who knows what kind of alien energy drinks and probably running on pure adrenaline, was in his element. This was the ultimate campaign with real stakes and real rewards, the survival of a whole planet. It's
Yeah.
like the most intense gaming scenario you could imagine.
It's like the ultimate game recognizes game moment, even if the game unexpectedly turned into a real alien war. The fact that the XRR were so inflexible in their strategies really shows how important it is to be able to adapt in any conflict, whether it's on a chessboard, a battlefield, or in a virtual world. Ryder's unpredictable strategies basically took advantage of their inability to change.
You got it. And news of these improbable victories spread like wildfire across the Adelan homeworld. And Ryder, this unassuming gamer, became a weird kind of celebrity. His sleepy-eyed face, usually sporting what someone described as a Cheeto dust mustache, was plastered all over propaganda posters. Talk about an ironic twist of fate.
Right.
From zero to galactic hero, all thanks to his mastery of virtual combat.
That Cheeto dust mustache on alien propaganda, that's a detail I won't forget anytime soon. It really shows how absurd the whole situation was. This regular, slightly messy human, probably more worried about his kill-death ratio than saving civilizations, becomes the unlikely hope of this advanced alien race. It's the ultimate fish-out-of-water story, but on a cosmic scale, complete with the relatable image of a gamer fueled by cheesy snacks.
Absolutely. This guy who was probably more focused on making his character as strong as possible was now the key to winning the whole war. His gaming instincts proving more valuable than their entire fleet of spaceships. But as with these kinds of stories, the big decisive battle was looming. The XSR were gathering their forces for one final massive attack, one that could potentially wipe out the Adelans for good. The stakes couldn't have been higher.
The tension must have been so thick you could cut it with a knife. After all these unexpected victories, thanks to this human gamer, it all came down to this one last confrontation. You can almost feel the weight of everyone's expectations on Ryder.
Right, and just before this final showdown, General Zara finds Ryder hunched over a holographic tactical display, probably surrounded by empty alien snack wrappers.
Yeah.
And in a surprisingly human moment amidst all this impending chaos, she says to him, "You know, Ryder, you don't owe us this." It was like she was acknowledging the crazy circumstances and the immense pressure he was under.
That's a really powerful moment of connection. After relying so heavily on his skills and basically recruiting him in this transactional way, Zara finally acknowledges the personal sacrifice Ryder is making. It shows a growing respect for him that goes beyond just his strategic abilities. She's recognizing his humanity even in the middle of this interstellar conflict.
Yeah, and Ryder's response, classic gamer dedication with a bit of reluctant heroism. He says, "They pulled me into this mess, didn't they? Kind of feel like I got to see it through." And then that familiar gamer excitement kicks in, he adds. Plus, it's got to be an epic achievement for winning this thing right. You can practically hear the determination in his voice, that drive to conquer the most challenging game imaginable.
That perfectly sums up Ryder's mindset, doesn't it? Even with a galactic war raging around him, there's still that gamer instinct to go for the ultimate victory, the epic win. It's his way of making sense of this insane situation by putting it in terms he understands. He finds motivation in the familiar pursuit of mastery.
Totally. And for the first time, General Zara cracks a smile. A real, maybe even slightly amused smile. Then they both get back to business united in their determination to save her world. So we're left on the edge of our seats waiting for this final battle, the fate of the Adelans hanging in the balance. But Ryder, our gaming prodigy, he's ready. Because if there's one thing years of intense gaming have taught him, it's that no matter how impossible the odds may seem, there's always a strategy, a hidden exploit, a cheat code, just waiting to be discovered.
That was an incredible story. From dominating a super hard video game to potentially saving an entire alien civilization, it really gets you thinking about the hidden potential we all have in those seemingly niche skills we have, and the unpredictable ways our passions could become unexpectedly important.
It really does, Julia. So putting on our paranormal probe hats, let's break this down a little. Is it actually more likely that an alien race would use a video game to recruit people than, say, making direct contact? And what does this tell us about how well they understand human psychology and our unique talents?
It's a fascinating question. On the one hand, using a game as a recruiting tool is much more efficient and subtle than making direct contact. It lets them observe a huge number of people without being noticed and pick out those with very specific cognitive abilities. Things like strategic thinking, problem solving, under pressure adaptability, resource management. Skills that are hard to measure through traditional methods. Plus, it's a much less threatening first interaction disguised as entertainment. But it also raises some questions. How do they know for sure that the skills someone shows in a virtual environment will translate to the complexities of a real conflict? And what if the perfect candidates just aren't interested in that specific type of game? It seems like a very risky, although clever gamble.
Right, you'd think reaching out directly would make more sense.
Huh.
But maybe they figured humans would be less likely to freak out if that initial contact felt like just another immersive gaming experience. It also suggests that they get our motivations, our desire to master things, our competitive spirit, and how those traits really come out in a virtual space designed to challenge those abilities. It's a smart way to filter for specific talents that you wouldn't necessarily see on a resume or in a job interview.
Exactly. Think about it. Ryder's ability to exploit the game's mechanics, to think outside the rules, and to adjust to unexpected challenges in the game are exactly what the Adelans needed. They weren't looking for soldiers who would just blindly follow orders. They needed someone who could see the battlefield or the overall strategy of the war in completely new and unconventional ways. This way of recruiting let them find someone with exactly those kinds of innovative problem-solving skills.
It definitely fits with that call to adventure idea we often talk about. Ryder had no idea what he was really getting into with this game at first, but he was pulled into this extraordinary situation in a very unusual way.
He was literally drafted into an interstellar war. It just shows that that call to adventure can come in the most unexpected and sometimes bizarre forms. It's not always about a mysterious stranger showing up at your door. Sometimes it's a cryptic message that pops up after you finally beat that impossible final boss.
So here's something to think about, listeners. What's your unbeatable game? What seemingly ordinary skill, or maybe even a really intense hobby, do you have that could unexpectedly turn out to be super valuable in ways you can't even imagine right now, maybe even on a cosmic scale? What seemingly unimportant thing you do might be unknowingly preparing you for some unforeseen, incredible adventure.
It really makes you wonder about all the hidden potential we all have, those skills and abilities we might not even realize are special until the universe throws us a curveball. Or maybe even a swirling vortex on our living room floor. Who knows? Maybe your amazing ability to put together IKEA furniture in record time will make you the go-to person for building alien space stations. You really never know.
You really never know. Thanks for joining us for this paranormal probe into the truly out-of-this-world story of Ryder here on the True Alien Podcast. Tune in tomorrow for more amazing tales from the edges of the unknown.